For years in my life, I struggled with the aftermath of abortion. By the time I was 20, on my 5th abortion, that's when it all started making sense to me. I remember getting all set up in the room. The doctor came in. I remember screaming and telling him, "Please stop, I've changed my mind." And I remember him standing up and taking his medical instruments that were full of blood and slamming them on the medical tray and looking at the woman who was sitting next to me and saying to her, "This is a 13, 14-week gestation. We need more money." I remember when it was done, he looked at the woman sitting next to me and he said, "Clean up this mess. We have a lot of girls waiting." Then he turned around and he looked at me and he goes, "Why don't you go get some pizza?" And just walked out of the room. And I remember thinking to myself, what have I done? Here I was, 20 years old. In 5 years, I had had 5 abortions. 3 days later, I began to hemorrhage, and I ended up in the emergency room. And I remember coming in, and the nurse asked me what was wrong, and I told her that I was hemorrhaging and that I had had an abortion a couple of days earlier and that this had never happened before. So they ran some tests to determine that I would need a D&C because half the baby was still inside of me. And I remember when the nurse said to me that half the baby was still inside of me, I remember looking at her and saying to her, "What baby are you talking about? This is a blob of tissue. This is just some cells. There's no baby here." At that moment, I realized for the very first time in my life that I had been given the legal right to end the lives of 5 of my kids.